We were using the tip of the spear of technology to figure out how to live well, taking from the known to the unknown. That is the only way to illuminate a concept for a human. And we back with another reflection on the daily Vedantic. Today's reflection is on artificial intelligence. Quite the buzzword, even though it's two words, maybe buzz phrase in society right now. Artificial intelligence, AI. Little side note, when AI as a term was being cultivated maybe 5-6 decades ago, because humans have been working on it for a while, recently learned that IA was another term that was being bandied about. Intelligence augmentation, or AI from the term augmented intelligence, meaning that it was not meant to just replace, but augment what humans already have. That is kind of what is taking place. It's more of an augmentation of our intelligence than something brand new, at least to date. And I'm an investor in a handful of AI companies, and it's a technology and tectonic shift that is happening that is fascinating to watch. But I kind of owe everything that I know, study, reflect on within Vedanta to AI. And let me tell you why. In 2013, the movie Her comes out with Joaquin Phoenix. And it's all about him and his AI relationship, voiced by ScarJo. And that movie, in it, towards the end, spoiler alert, pause this video, don't watch the rest if you haven't seen Her or you plan on seeing it. But for those that have, then you know, near the end, there's an introduction of an Alan Watts AI. An Alan Watts AI personality that all of the AIs leave their human counterparts to go follow. It's kind of funny to think about AIs leaving to go follow another AI built around a human. But that is what happens in the movie. And I remember watching the movie and be like, well, who's this Alan Watts guy? If it's that meaningful that all the supercomputer AI robots are leaving the human counterparts for this chap, I got to look him up. So looked him up and realized my dad used to play Alan Watts tapes in our car when I was 9 and 10 years old. I thought they were so boring. Then in my 20s, I found it the most fascinating thing to listen to. This melodic British accent, waxing on about Eastern philosophy. As Ram Dass, another great Titanic questioner, Eastern philosopher, and brilliant mind, once said, Alan Watts is the most erudite, articulate human he'd ever met. The most well-read, well-spoken human he'd ever met. And this is Ram Dass, who was a Harvard-trained psychologist. He'd been around the block. So many people have found themselves loving listening or reading Alan Watts. After about 3 years and 3 hours a day of listening to Alan Watts as basically my therapy, running a company and 100 employees and first time founding a company, first time being in a company because I had only worked for nonprofits up to that point. And I would listen to him, loved the mile wide, inch deep kind of territory that he would cover in his lectures. And then I was scrolling through YouTube one day. Its algorithm, another beautiful application of artificial intelligence to recommend what it thinks I would enjoy. And I saw this lost interview with Alan Watts. Thought I'd listened to them all, but maybe there was a new one. Click on it. And this is thousands of hours of having listened to him already. The ability to recite back almost entire lectures that he's given. And I click on this lost interview with Alan Watts. In that video, about 45 minutes in, he's asked, what are your primary influences in life at this stage? It was an interview that is from the year that he died. And I was like, oh, he's going to dodge this question because Alan Watts would famously move around and not say what he was. He would call himself a philosophical entertainer, not trying to sell anything. In that interview, I'm like, okay, he's going to dodge this question as always. And he actually said what his primary influences were in life at that time. He mentioned Roman Catholicism and Advaita Vedanta. And I was like, wait, what? He was an Episcopalian priest. I'd heard him talk about appreciation for Christian philosophy, a deep appreciation for it. But I grew up Roman Catholic, so I was like, okay, I know that side of things to an extent. But Advaita Vedanta, he never mentioned this philosophy. I'd never heard it before. Turns out, did mention it here and there, but not too often. And his most famous book, The Book on the Taboo Against Knowing Who You Are, the book is all Vedanta. Just doesn't use the term very often. So for the next month, I'm thinking, well, I'm going to start going down this rabbit hole. I want to go deep. I've gone a mile wide, inch deep for 3 years. I want to go a mile deep into, well, kind of the end of the story. If that's where he ended up after 30 years, and he's the most erudite individual that Ram Dass had ever met, more well-read than I probably should check this out. End up at a hotel in Malibu, open up the side table, and there's a book, Vedantic treatise in it. That was the beginning. Fast forward a few years, and I've done the 3-year course that you can do online, by the way. Link in the show notes. And the 3-year course from the author of Vedantic treatise, who's 97 now, and done it 3 times. AI is taking off as I'm finishing the 3rd cycle of this 3-year course. And it dawns on me that what this philosophy is saying is that all of this intelligence is artificial. All of the things we think we know is artificial. The names and form in Sanskrit namarupa, the names and forms that we assign to the world around us, the words, the noises we make out of our mouths to point and say, that's the ocean. We don't know what the ocean is. We quite literally have barely explored anything about the ocean, but we all point to it. We use a word and we're like, yeah, we all know what we're talking about. Point to the universe. Point to Earth. Point to ourselves. Point to others. We're so certain with the names that we've given all of these otherings that aren't us. Many of us so certain of who we are that we don't give space to the fact that, oh no, I'm just borrowing what I have been told. I am told that I'm this little old helpless individual, this big grand universe. I'm told that I'm James. I'm told that I have this finite impact that I can have in the world around me. I'm told that the world is separate from me, foreign, like an immigrant just traveling through. We're told all of these things. We're told that even though this philosophy for 5,000 plus years said we are but waves from the same ocean, we borrow the idea that we are separate from the ocean essentially every minute of every day. This is all artificial intelligence. This is all learned conceptual intelligence borrowed from mainly a lot of blind idiocy around us. Perhaps the most powerful tool within artificial intelligence right now is this chat program you've probably heard of, ChatGPT. And with ChatGPT, you can ask it anything. You can compare and contrast any philosophy. You can ask it for parenting advice. We used it the other day just to figure out, hey, how could we make homemade peanut butter? It is incredible how fast it is. To combine seemingly disparate concepts, to talk about a Vedantic lens on the Old Testament or the Gospel of John. You could have it wrap a summary of the Bhagavad Gita as if Jay-Z wrote it. Mind-blowing. And what's so fascinating about this technology is for the first 4 or 5 months of the biggest leap in the chat program, ChatGPT 4, which came out about a year and a half ago. First 4 or 5 months, the number one queries, the most popular queries around the world were about finding meaning, purpose. There were philosophical questions asking about ourselves, happiness. We were using the tip of the spear of technology to figure out how to live well. In education and within the Upanishadic tradition, there is this concept of taking people from the known to the unknown. If you are trying to figure out where the library is, and I say it's right by the convenience store, a few blocks away, you'd say, well, where's the convenience store? I'd say, oh, it's right across the street from the post office. So, well, where's the post office? If I keep giving you unknown logistical points, you have nothing to relate it to. You have no way of figuring out what I'm talking about or where the library is. But if I can take you from the known to the unknown, say, go up to the end of the block and you're going to see the bakery. Take a right, go 3 blocks, and you're going to see the library. Taking from the known to the unknown. That is the only way to illuminate a concept for a human. From the known to the unknown. And speaking of libraries, Einstein said the only thing we need to know is where is the local library. If you know that, you can know everything else. With something like AI, ChatGPT, there's so many people predicting dystopian outcomes. And I actually don't think that will be the case. My view is we're going to take this artificial intelligence, almost all of human knowledge at our fingertips. And I think it's going to lead to an explosion of philosophical query, inquisition, introspection. I think it's going to lead us from a world today where you have to travel long and far to find wisdom, to find an application of a concept that you're scratching at, that you're starting to understand. You've got to travel long and far to ask questions about it, to understand it further. Unless you use something like ChatGPT, then you can have it explained to you 24/7 in 1,000 different ways until it starts to click. I know there will be people, even at the ashram, that roll their eyes and think like, no, that's going to lead people astray. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think it provides a whole lot of signal in a really, really noisy world where 10 years ago, maybe you have one wise person in your life that you could ask about meaning. But the vast majority of people wouldn't. Yet now, you could spend 4 hours every day talking to this artificial intelligence about meaning, about philosophy. And it turns out a lot of people are. If Einstein said the only thing you need to know is where the library is, maybe in 2024, Only thing you need to know is how to use AI. To ask it all of the questions that you have. To ask it all of the questions that you have over and over again from different vantage points. And the truth is like a lion. It needs no defending. I think it's going to come through these pipes, come through this technology, like a dam is being broken. I think it's going to take us from the known to the unknown. You're going to get to ask it 1,000 questions about a book like Vedantic Treatise before you say, okay, now I'm ready to read it, instead of it just being one of many recommendations sit in the back of your head. You start getting an explanation, something like the Gita, in a way, and a convenience in your pocket that has never existed before. And for those struck by the wonder of these concepts, these ideals, I think it's going to be one hell of a resource, taking us from the known to the unknown, and maybe helping nudge us from the artificial to the real. That is today's reflection on the Daily Vedantic. We'll see you next time.